Hello, welcome to another session. I am Dr. Gloria's Feeling. Today I'm going to teach a lesson on verbs. This is based on feedback from my students and viewers. Thank you for watching. I'll be teaching you today's lesson based on my experience learning English as a native speaker. My parents were my first teachers, and they taught me 1930s and 1940s standard or traditional English. It's very formal. Then I learned in school 1970s and 1980s English. That was also grammatical. Then I refreshed my English in 2017 when I got my master's degree in teaching English to speakers of other languages. So today I will be sharing my knowledge based on my experience, and my hope is that you will be able to learn and retain English. What is a verb? A verb is a word that expresses action. It also expresses a state of being. Dr. Keith Fulce in his book said that a verb is the heart of any English sentence. I agree with that statement. We start with some type of action and we want to talk about someone or something and what they did. So I think the action is where we begin, and that is a good foundation for us to begin with today. I'm also keeping it simple. Verbs can express tense, such as present tense or past tense, and they can be auxiliary verbs. I tend to think of verbs in two categories, as verbs of being or auxiliary, and as verbs of action. When you go onto the internet, you will find several sources, reliable sources, that talk about the ways in which verbs can be used, but there are so many it tends to get complicated in my opinion. So again, based on my experience, I'm going to just use two categories. There are action verbs, for example, eat, sleep, watch, walk, play, talk, cook, and read. These are all actions that we take in life. Then there are auxiliary verbs, which I also call the being verbs. Being and action, two categories that I mentioned before. I put my auxiliary verbs or my being verbs in clusters, and I alphabetize them by the first letter, starting with the letter B. The first cluster is be, being, been, is, am, are, was, were. Then I move on to the letter C. Could, should, would, that rhymes. Could, should, would. Can, will, shall. Do, does, did, letter D. All the letter H's, have, has, had, and all the letters with M, may, might, must. There's a way to memorize auxiliary verbs, and they're also called helping verbs. You can use the tune to the song Jingle Bells. I'm not going to sing it, but I will say it as a poem. Helping verbs, there are 23. Is, am, are, was, and were, being, been, and be. Have, has, had, do, does, did, will, would, shall, and should. There are 5 more helping verbs, may, might, must, can, could. So if you are someone who likes rhythm or music, that's a way to memorize the verbs. And here is my source. I encourage you to look at it after you watch this video. There is a category of auxiliary verbs called modal verbs, and there are 9 according to Dr. Fulce. In his book, he wrote, modal verbs are a category of auxiliary verbs that express feelings, attitudes, or opinion. The 9 verbs are can, could, shall, should, may, might, must, will, would. Let's look at verbs in a sentence. Example 1. The lady ate a sandwich. Is there being or auxiliary, or is there action present in this sentence? Yes, there is. Ate. The lady ate a sandwich. Example 2. The baby sleeps all night. Is there being or action in this sentence? There is, isn't there? Sleeps. The baby sleeps all night. Example 3. We walk in the park. Is there an action or being or auxiliary in this sentence? There is. Walk. We walk in the park. What happened? Somebody walked. We walk in the park. Example 4. He reads a book. Is there a being or auxiliary present, or is there an action present? There is. Reads. What was the action? The action was to read. He reads a book. Example 5. She writes a letter. Is there an auxiliary or being verb, or maybe an action verb? There is. There's action. Somebody did some writing. She writes a letter. Now it's your turn. Please identify the verb in the sentence. And please leave me your answers in the comments below. Number 1, the man watched television. Is there action in this sentence, or is there an auxiliary or verb of being in this sentence? And number 2, he cooked dinner for Thanksgiving. Is there action, or is there an auxiliary verb in this sentence? Number 3, we drank tea at the tea party. Is there an auxiliary verb or verb of being? How about an action verb in this sentence? She is 9 years old. Is there some type of action or auxiliary verb in this sentence? Number 5, we were happy at the beach. Is there some action, or is there an auxiliary verb in this sentence? Now it's time to check your work. Please leave me a comment with your answers. I will do my very best to reply to them all and give you feedback and let you know if your answers are correct. My sincere hope is that what I share with you will help you to learn English and retain and remember everything you learn. Thank you for watching. I hope you will share this video with your friends if you find it helpful. Thank you very much.